All right, well, welcome back. Another episode of Business Video School with Nick Niehaus.
There you go. Got it.
Jeff Fitzer and myself, Tristan. I shaved just for this.
Wow.
Yep, just for this. And today we're going to be going into Facebook, how to really create your persona, how to get some influence, and we'll take a look at some Facebook ads. So I'm excited to see what you got, Nick. Let's do this.
Good stuff. All right, let's get it rolling. Let me get my slides pulled up here.
Let's go.
Sorry, I'm getting a little lag there. Okay.
That's probably Tristan's fault.
It probably is, dude. I'm trying to see if this goes live.
All right, should be good now. Well, let's go ahead and get rolling. So I guess I wanted to start off by kind of giving everybody a quick overview of what we're going to cover today. So the idea here is we're going to show you how to use targeted Facebook ads and some retargeting techniques to grow a local influence, right? So we call it becoming local famous. So basically, strategically attracting a following in a particular area, obviously the area where you typically do business, right? So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a warning here. We are going to be looking at the Facebook's Ads Manager. It is a very complex system, all right? So there's a lot of pieces I'm not going to even talk about today. We're just going to basically glance completely over them. There's others I'm going to touch on briefly, but this is not an intensive deep dive. I mean, there are people who spend years learning how to use this platform. So this is something we do cover. We are developing courses for within the school. So if you are curious based on what you see today, we encourage you to join the school in the future to learn there. Or there are also experts. I mean, I learned a lot of this stuff from a guy named John Loomer. He's a Facebook ads expert, got a big following on Facebook. So
I love John. John's
great, right? So, and there's obviously others that I'm sure Jeff and Tristan can recommend, but I just wanted to mention that first because we're gonna move fast. So you're gonna see a quick overview. Hopefully you get kind of the gist of how it works. And then if you want to implement it, either take it to an ads expert and have them set it up for you, or you are gonna have to do some more learning. This stuff does take some time to really get familiar with. So just wanted to say that ahead of time so that nobody's feeling like, I need you to go back and, we're gonna be kind of moving quickly here today. So let's start off by talking basically a little bit about the idea behind this strategy, right? So, because there is kind of a philosophy that goes into this. What we are not doing today is I'm not going to be showing you lead gen, all right? Now, this process will eventually yield, I wouldn't even call them leads, I would call them customers, because usually by the time they contact you, they're pretty much ready to work with you. But this really isn't a lead gen strategy. This is a long-term branding strategy. And I feel like even a year or two ago, the term branding for small businesses was still kind of a dirty word. It was something that people didn't really understand, and they felt like it was sort of a waste of money. And if you still feel that way, I would really challenge you to change that perception, because essentially what we see happening in the marketing world and the advertising world is that for many, many years, for decades, big businesses dominated the entire world with branding, right? So the idea was always, keep yourself in front of your potential customers, get in front of them when they're young, right? So this was like a multi-year strategy. And then over time, they get to know you, they become familiar with you, they start to know, like, and trust your name and your logo. And then you can drop your offers in whenever you want to drive extra sales. But the idea is you become so well known, you're so established in your industry that people automatically are drawn to your business, right? And so we've seen that across all of the large Fortune 500 companies for many decades at this point. Most of them use television ads to do it. And what we're now seeing is those same strategies, those same approaches are starting to kind of penetrate the small business world. And once branding becomes possible, your lead gen stuff, your more aggressive direct marketing tactics are going to start to lose their potency, okay? And so there's this philosophy here, which is that you want to try to build relationships with people. And so if you do this correctly, if you put out the right kinds of videos and you target people correctly and you stay in front of them, what's happening is that thousands of people are going to be able to build this relationship with you. They're going to start to know, like, and trust you like big businesses have been doing for decades. And it's going to change the way your business works. And I mean, I can say this from firsthand experience. We basically went all in on this particular strategy, a slight variation on it, right? I mean, we focused on real estate agents specifically, but we went all in on this about 3 years ago. And it worked phenomenally well. And it really helped establish us as an expert in this particular field. But it was a branding play, and it was something where the first few months I wasn't getting a whole bunch of leads. I had to really kind of put my trust and faith in it, and trust that over time, as people got to know who I was, they were going to be attracted to our business. And that's what happened, right? So to kind of give you a framework for it. So let's talk a little bit about, what is it that we're going to be doing in this process. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you 2 steps. So if you read the description for this particular webinar, you would have seen that first, I'm going to show you how to just set up a video ad, right? And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create an audience of the people who watch that first video so that you can show them more content, right? And the idea here is that anybody that expresses interest, anybody that spends time with your content up front, they're qualified, at least a tiny bit, right? So they've kind of opted in a way. And so it's actually much more cost effective, and it's much better for building your business to stay in front of those people, okay? So we're going to set up an ad that targets people in a certain part of town. You're going to see how to do that. We're going to show them a video, and then the people who actually watch that video, we're going to show a secondary ad to them, okay? So this is the most basic version of this. It's only really 2 steps, but you can imagine how you can add additional steps to that, right? So you can show a first video, then you can show a second, third, fourth, fifth, however many you want. And as people watch more and more of your videos, they're getting to know you better, and they're gradually starting to know, like, and trust you, okay? It's called a parasocial relationship that you're building with them. So that's the fundamental aspect of this, is that basically what's happened is communication has gotten a lot easier, right? We can put video content in front of people all across the internet. It's very affordable to do. We're all walking around with HD cameras in our pockets for the first time in history. So it's very easy to communicate this way. And so it's easier to build real relationships, right? So we're going to focus on that value side, right? We're going to try to educate people. We're going to try to entertain them. We're going to talk about things that aren't necessarily specific to our business, with the idea being that we're trying to show people that we care about the same things they care about, right? So if you get into, kind of video philosophy or strategy, we talk a lot about that, right? So you want to deliver value. You don't necessarily, well, I would say you definitively don't want to be selling on your initial video, right? Then you capture those people that showed a little bit of interest. You stay in front of them with this retargeting strategy I'm going to show you today. They develop some familiarity with you. And then later on, as you start to want to pull leads, right? So you say, you know what, I'm a little slow this month. I need a couple extra leads. You can start to put additional offers in front of that audience that you've been nurturing for a long time. So now if you have a first-time home buyer seminar you want to drive people to, you put that ad in front of the couple thousand people that have been watching you for months, and guess what? A couple dozen of them end up signing up and attending your event. But they're not just random people, they actually know you now. So they're looking forward to meeting you. They're coming in excited, right? I mean, it's a totally different experience. And I, again, can tell you this firsthand. When you hold an event and strangers show up, but they're excited to meet you, you do a lot more business that way, right? So that's what we're talking about here, is we're going to build this funnel that's going to get people to know, like, and trust us. And then when we want to pull value, we want to pull leads, we want to pull business, we put an offer in front of them, and they're going to sign up and convert at a much higher rate. If that makes sense, okay? So that's the basic gist of the strategy. So let's talk a little bit about what you can do with this stuff, and then most of this presentation is going to actually be a demonstration of the Facebook's Ads Manager and how to set this stuff up, okay? So let's talk next about who you can target. Now, as a real estate agent, I'm assuming most people here are either agents or brokers, you have some rules now. So Facebook, 6 months or a year ago, I can't remember quite how long it's been, they had to make some really substantial changes to the way their ad targeting worked for certain categories, all right? Because it was shown that, and I don't know how many people were doing this, but I do think they found cases where this was happening. But the way it used to work, you could do all kinds of really granular targeting, but it allowed for discrimination. So you could basically try to target areas where only certain kinds of people lived, right? So maybe you're targeting areas where it's mostly white people, and obviously that's illegal. And so Facebook had to make changes to the targeting so that kind of discrimination just simply wasn't possible. And so unfortunately, that means you're much more limited on who you can target when you're talking about these topics, right? So when you're doing housing, when you're doing, I think it's insurance, and then I believe lending. I think it's those 3 categories that have these additional restrictions, right? Now, that being said, we've been able to work, I'm not gonna say around it, we've worked with these rules and we've still been able to find a lot of success. So as cool as it was to be able to target all these really specific things, I would encourage you just to embrace the new rules and learn to operate within them, okay? So who can you target based on these new rules? So first of all, you can still target people in your city. The only downside is you can't be quite as narrow as you used to be. You used to be able to go all the way down to a 1 mile radius, which is basically like targeting just a neighborhood in a lot of ways. Now, the limit is 15 miles. So it's a much broader area, but the good news is you can still target, your region. If you do that, you're probably still targeting an area where, the area you do business in is probably bigger than that particular area, right? So you can target people in your local area. You can also target people with certain interests, right? So this is where I think you can be really strategic here. If you have a particular hobby, if there's something that you really like to do or participate in, you can target other people with that same interest. And that's a great place to build relationships. So you should really be considering that. If I make a video, and the demonstration that we're going to use today is a video about a local restaurant, I can actually go in and look for interests that might show me, hey, these particular people are more likely to be interested in dining out or eating at nicer restaurants. And so I'm going to already qualify myself with those people, right? Other things you can target would be things, certain demographics, certain behaviors. Obviously, there's a lot of restrictions on those for real estate agents. So for real estate agents, you're mostly talking about targeting interests and then geographic areas, okay? Now that's the cold audience side. That means people who have never interacted with your business before. And then you have what's called a warm audience. And we're going to be showing both of these today. So on the cold audience side, that's our first step. We're going to show you how to target people in a certain area. And then the second step is warm, because that means they've engaged with us in some way already. And so the one warm audience I'm going to show you today is how to target and add people who have already seen your video, right? They have some exposure, and that's you can keep them coming back. So that's an example of a warm audience. A couple other examples would be website visitors, which you can do with Facebook ads. People who have engaged with your business page. Yeah.
Your audio is like at portions. It's absolutely terrible. Like we can't hear anything.
Okay.
So just maybe plug that in. And as you're doing that, Jeff and I will take over for like a minute.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
All right, sweet. So where you have your cold audiences and warmer audiences, he's right. So I think the thing that we have to remember is all the cold audiences out there. Carly, I love Jeff's shirt too. Good point out. What you have is you send out, let's say we're doing videos like Nick is saying, and we're throwing it out there and people start responding. Like I just did a video and I threw it out there. I have like 13,000 views on it. And what happens is these people then start becoming warm audiences. The idea is to now retarget to them and bring them back in, because now you can, because they already bought into whatever it is you were talking about, whether it's you selling or whether it's just your branding specifically, now you can retarget to them through their custom audience feature. And I'm hoping that Nick gets into that. If he doesn't, at least we can show it a little bit. So we can show now after how it's so much easier to now target the people that bought in. And then you can break it down into, okay, did this person or did this now warm audience that I have, did they view my video 50% of the video? Did they view 25% of the video? Did they view however much percentage of the video? And then you can determine who you're going to target to based on that, because the longer they've sat through that video, the chances are the higher you can convert them. And that's important too. Jeff, what do you think of that, dude? Have you tried that by any chance?
Well, actually, I just want to know who's this younger brother of Tristan that I'm talking to right now, because it's not Tristan.
I shaved.
I had a question that I want to pose to Nick. I want to present it because as he's talking about these audiences here, I wanted to see, because he mentions here your customers and or database, that's the audience I tend to like to target the best, is an uploaded audience, like an Excel spreadsheet, right? Where I know who I'm just trying to target, who I'm trying to stay on their feed consistently. That's my goal typically with targeting.
Yeah, you know what? Let me see. I saved a video that explained it really well so people can understand. what it is here. You know what? I found it. Let me see if I can do this while Nick fixes his section. Nick, give me about another minute or so, and then I'm going to show people kind of like Gary V's strategy, what we've been doing for about close to a year here. Let me see here. I'm going to share my phone. And it's like a 30-second video. And guess where I found the video, Jeff?
I'm listening.
TikTok.
All
right. Tell me if you can hear this, Jeff. All right?
Yep.
Here we go.
Strategy for Facebook.
Good.
So I will first roll the clip and then show how you can do it.
Make a great fucking video, target it properly, get hundreds of thousands of people to see quite a bit of it, and then remarket them for a call to action and watch how many convert. You'll believe in marketing for the rest of your life.
First, upload your video to Facebook. Go to Ads Manager, create a new ad, click on video views, set up your targeting, your ad budget, click use existing post, and select the video you have just uploaded and start running the ad. After a few days,
So that part is easy. You upload the video, like we're going to show you, Nick, on the back end of Ads Manager. Now, this is where it gets pretty sick, just in case you were wondering the good part. Here it is.
is go to audiences, click create audience and custom audience, select video, select 50% of video views, choose videos, select the video advertisement and confirm. Now select create an ad using the audience, go for conversions, and you can now advertise call to action and your product. Like and follow for more tips.
So if you missed what that was, which I know some of you did.
That was fast.
Yeah, that was fast and it was on purpose. But the key to that was once you're running the video, you can identify who's watched your video 25% of the time, 50% of the time, and so forth. If you want to go deep into the people that are already watching and loving your stuff for a longer period of time, you can. And chances are you're going to convert them at a higher rate at that point. So that's what we've been doing for such a long time with Lab Coats. That's why we have such a massive audience and views on our videos, right? You know what, Dion, good one. I'm going to go ahead and put the link on here. I'm just going to send it to myself and share that with you.
But I think the answer is to Dion as well, is that yes, we usually are sending out an email afterwards with a copy of the replay.
Yeah, I'll send that over to you, dude, too, Jeff.
Hey, here's a question. How many people do you need in the 50% views audience to advertise to them?
That's a good question. Our audiences are massive usually. I don't even know what the limit for that would be. But because we have such a large audience already, I couldn't answer that. And Nick might be able to answer that if he's looked into it. I just shared that specific video with you that's like 40 seconds long. So you can take a look at it. And that's really like going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, well, that's TikTok, man. That's what you have to do on TikTok.
Yeah, I love it. Nick?
I'm back.
Take it away.
I changed computers. How do I sound now?
Oh, you sound, yeah, you sound
good for
clear.
now.
You sound clear.
Good enough? All right.
Tiffany
All
said she needs 50 miles an hour. Tiffany, that's still fast, and that's true.
All right. So I'm gonna turn off this automatically adjusting microphone thing. So.
Yeah, and Paul, to answer your question, I mean, can you post the same videos to YouTube? Yes. Can you target the same video? Yes, but on YouTube, you can't. Facebook and YouTube don't work together. They're competitors. You can, however, when you target on Facebook, also target on Instagram at the same time, and you should.
Right. Well, that actually leads well into this slide, which is where you can show your stuff, right? So as Jeff already mentioned, we don't have to go into too much of this, but with Facebook, they do own Instagram. So you can put your ads on Instagram directly through the Ads Manager. You can show them on Newsfeed, Facebook Watch, and the Marketplace. And then Facebook even has an audience network, which allows you to show your ads across websites all over the internet that have partnered with Facebook to sell ads, right? So there's actually all kinds of different options in terms of where those ads end up showing up, but they all have to be related to Facebook. So Facebook and Google are pretty big rivals, so they're never going to really play well together. All right, let me make another adjustment on the microphone.
Which while you're doing that, Nick, I will point out to everyone, that's not what this webinar is about, but we mention it all the time. When you're sharing your YouTube links, back to Facebook, your post is going to be suppressed because Facebook doesn't want their audience clicking a link and taking them back to YouTube. So remember that when you're posting videos to Facebook, post them organically to get a better reach.
Good points. All right. So are you hearing me okay now?
I am, buddy. I am.
Okay. I keep having to switch microphones and stuff. Apologize for that. All right. So we're going to switch to the demonstration in just a second here. Before we do that, I did want to let everybody know if you have questions about the school. So we are actually currently not enrolling new students. We're making some substantial updates. We're actually launching a whole new component of the school here next week. But if you do want updates on what's going on in Business Video School, and if you would like to get weekly video tips, and actually the first 2 weeks you get a video tip for free every single day, you're going to want to head and make sure you're on our email list. So if you're not already registered, the way to do that is to text just one word, learn video. So no space, just the letters LEARNVIDEO. Text that as the body of a text message to 44222 as the phone number. Or if you don't want to mess with that, if you're already on a computer, you can go to the URL you see there, which is bit.ly/freevidtips. You can go ahead and get registered on our list, and we're going to give you updates when the school does open up again. So currently you can't really enroll because we don't have a new class starting for beginners, but in just another week or two, we're going to have a whole bunch of additional things. So we're going to be doing workshops. We got a cool TikTok workshop scheduled for the end of the month. We're going to be doing accountability groups. TikTok, man. We've had enough requests. So Jeff's going to be coming on in to do that with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And actually, Tristan, you know, we're going to have you there too now with these duets you're doing, man. You're going to have to show people how to do them. So we got that coming up. We got accountability groups. So if you're having trouble getting yourself to actually put the camera up and make videos on a regular basis, we're going to have accountability for you. We got a lot of cool stuff. So I just want to mention that now because I have a feeling we're not going to have time to get into this at the end of this webinar because I want to make sure we spend it showing you the ads manager. Okay. So just a quick note on that. I'm going to go ahead and close this screen out here in just a couple seconds. So if you want to get registered, make sure you write that down. Or go ahead and send that text. And now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the Facebook's Ads Manager.
And Nick, if you can turn your mic up a hair, that would help a little bit. We can hear you, but you're just a lower volume now.
All right, let me see. How's that now? So
there you go. It's louder. Yep.
Or
no, that's okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Man, tech difficulties today. I apologize for that. All right, so now we're looking at the Facebook's Ads Manager. All right, so first of all, how do you get here? All you really got to do is type in facebook.com/adsmanager, which is what you see up here at the top of the screen, facebook.com/adsmanager. And assuming that you have a Facebook business page set up, then you should be able to access this. You can't run ads if you don't have a business page. That is the first step to getting here, okay? So I'm kind of assuming we're not going to go over how to set up the Ads Manager in the first place. I'm just kind of working with the idea that you can either look that up on your own or hopefully you've looked at this before because this is, like I said, it's going to be a lot of steps that we're coming through. But come back, watch this again later, look up some other resources if you need to. But the idea here is I really just want you to get a sense of how this particular strategy works, okay? So we're starting here on the main screen of the Ads Manager. And there's a few things, there's actually a few different tabs up here. So the primary tab is this one, it's Campaigns. And the campaign is kind of like the top of the tree that branches out with all of the components of your ad, right? So there's actually multiple layers to creating an ad on Facebook. So think of the campaign as kind of the umbrella that covers up everything else that you're going to be putting into this. And the campaign is going to have a specific objective. So you're basically telling Facebook what is it you want to accomplish with the ads. I'll show you that in just a second. The second layer is what's called the ad sets. This is where you're setting all the rules about who the ad is going to be shown to, where it's going to be shown, is often where you're putting how much money you want to spend into it. And then the final layer is the ads themselves, right? So this is where you're actually putting the video and the copy together. So you're saying what page the ad is being displayed by, and then what is in the ad, and then what do you want people to do if they click on it, if anything. You don't necessarily have to send them somewhere, but that is an option, okay? So that's what you're looking at here on the home screen. What we're going to do to create a campaign is click on this button here, Create. And this opens up, I'm going to close that because that was from a former ad. This opens up the first step, okay? Now the first thing you have to do here
is you have to tell Facebook that you're creating an ad for housing, all right? So you do have to click this special ad category box so that Facebook knows this is an ad that has to be qualified for all those special rules I talked about earlier. If you want to try to figure out how to get around that, you can. That's up to you, obviously, but I would recommend that if you are in real estate, you just label everything as housing and just deal with the rules, right? It's the safest way to approach it. And even if you're technically, if your video is not about housing at all, you could argue that it's not an ad for real estate, but I would just go ahead and always select housing, right? Now you scroll down a little bit further and you're going to see this question. What's your marketing objective, right? So like I said, Facebook is going to try to accomplish whatever you tell them in this step. So it is important that you tell them the right thing. If you tell them the wrong thing, obviously they're not going to be able to accomplish the right objective for you. So what do we want in this case? Well, a lot of people are always going to be tempted to click right here, lead generation, right? Because we go, oh yeah, we want leads, right? So I'll tell Facebook to get me leads. But that's not what this first campaign is all about. This first campaign is about generating awareness. It's about putting our video content in front of as many of the right people as possible so they get to know us. So we're going to go with video views. We could do other ones too, but video views is the most obvious, the most direct. And so we click on that. And what that's going to do is now Facebook is going to know, hey, what my objective with this particular campaign is to get as many people to watch the video as possible. And technically it's to get as many views. So it might even show the video to people that might want to watch it multiple times, right? Which I think a lot of cases is a very good thing. If somebody's watching you and your video multiple times, they're getting to know you that much better, right? So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's going to maximize the total views. So the next thing we need to do is give the campaign a name. So I'm just going to say, let's just call it our awareness campaign. I'm just going to say awareness, right? So again, you can add, more specific names. If you do a lot of ads, make sure you're very clear in your name what the campaign is so you can find it later. At a certain point, I realized I was not being specific enough, and I had to click through and really figure out what each campaign was. So you don't want to get stuck there. And then here is another thing you can do is you can either set the budget for the campaign at this level, or I can turn this off and I'm going to set it at the ad set level. Okay. So in this case, we're only going to have one ad set, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off to show you how to do it within the ad set. Okay. That's all you got to do on the campaign level. So that's it. That was pretty straightforward, right? But now we're getting into the more detailed section, right? So now we started with campaign. That's the umbrella. That's the rule and the objective. Now we're in ad set, okay? And ad set's where we're setting all of our targeting, all of the aspects of who we want to see this ad, right? So same thing with the naming. If you don't do anything, it's going to default to US 18 plus because that's the default targeting. So right now I'm literally targeting anybody in the United States over the age of 18. That's pretty broad. I would assume most of you don't want to target every single adult in the United States. It's 230 million people. You're going to have to spend a lot of money to get in front of all them. So we need to refine that, right? So first of all, I'm going to change the name. So I'm going to say,
hey Nick, while you're typing that in, can you answer a question that says which marketing objective should I choose to advertise a listing, like a home listing? What would you suggest there? Or Tristan, if you're better to answer that.
I was muted. I apologize. Are you talking about where? Scroll down a little bit.
On objectives. He was talking about objectives in the campaign. I think that's where the question came from.
Is that's the previous screen where he's talking about?
Correct.
All right. So when you're in the previous screen, whoever's asking that question, I put a link in the chat box to show you the difference of when you're creating a lead ad. And it's cool that Nick is showing us what we do with video specifically. What we want to just remember in general is the one on the left, because there's 3 choices. The one on the left is primarily for branding. The one in the middle can also be used for branding, but it gives you other options like lead generation, where it's specific, it says lead gen. That one, it serves as a landing page. I would highly suggest that you watch the video I just put a link to because it helps you create an actual lead ad there. And I take you through the whole process. Now ignore the part that I show at the end, which is KW command. I was just comparing both. But the first 40 minutes is straight out creating a lead ad so you can then compare what Nick is doing with videos because it goes hand in hand and it shows you 2 different things. So objective really matters on what you want to do. Do you want to brand or do you want to create leads for yourself?
Right. Yep. So always remember, like whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, you have to be really clear about upfront, as you can obviously see. So we're going for video views in this case, and then we wanted to target people in our geographic region. So as you guys were talking, I went ahead and filled this in. So what you do is you scroll down underneath this section. So it says create new audience, and you want to find this map is what you're looking for, right? And what you want to do is you just want to type in the name of your city. So I'm based here in St. Louis, Missouri. So that's what I typed in. And then I can go all the way, and this is within the real estate rules. I can go all the way down to a 15-mile radius. I can't go any smaller than that, right? So, you know, obviously it would be nice to get a little more granular, but I can get kind of the greater St. Louis area. And if you're from St. Louis or familiar with St. Louis, the greater St. Louis area actually extends out to about here, which is Wentzville, which is probably another 15 to 20 miles further than I set the radius. So you may not want to center it right on the downtown area. In St. Louis, we kind of have downtown here, and then most of our suburbs are actually to the west, right? So maybe I want to pick something that's kind of more central to the suburbs and then target it that way. So just keep that in mind. Just keep it simple, I'm choosing St. Louis, and I'm doing everything within 15 miles, which you can see over here is 1.1 million total people, okay? So it's still a pretty big audience. Now, I can choose to refine that further, and here's how I do that. I scroll a little further down, and I can target now this particular category. So detailed targeting is what you're going to want to look for. And then this is what happens. When you limit it to housing, if you click on browsing, the only subcategory you get is interests, all right? So interests, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to look at all the different interests. There's a lot of them. There's a ton of different interests in here, right? I mean, you can search for almost anything you can imagine. You're probably going to find either an interest directly for it or something related to it, right? So this is where this gets really cool, is I would actually encourage you to be a little strategic here. Think about what your video is focused on. And again, these shouldn't be real estate videos necessarily. These should be local influencer videos, right? So the one we're going to be using, as I mentioned before, is a hotel kind of tour and review. So this agent based in the St. Louis area is kind of a dominant agent in the downtown region. And so we did this highlight video of a hotel that just opened in that area. It's a really cool, unique hotel. And so maybe we want to target this a little bit more narrowly. Maybe we want to target it, you know, people who have an interest in like fine dining, or people who have an interest in traveling or something like that, right? So we can just start typing things into here. And actually, I'm going to do the browse again because I guess it's not letting me search at the moment. But we can search through here and we can look for all kinds of different things that might be a good fit. And sometimes they're obvious, sometimes they're not obvious. You might want to be a little bit broad with what you're choosing. But, you know, I'm just kind of showing you a quick example. I'm not going to get into any more detail here. But just look at all the different kinds of, you know, just the C's alone. There was like, you know, 100 of them almost, it seemed like, right? So lots of different options for your interests. And it's up to you. You can choose interests and you can target people that way, or you can leave it broad, because the cool thing about these advertising platforms at this point in time is that they have learning algorithms, right? So they're not based necessarily just on what you tell them to do. If I put this video out, I show it to 1.1 million people, the first few days, what Facebook is doing is it's going to guess who it thinks might enjoy watching that video, and it's going to show the video to those people. But then as people start to watch it, it starts to learn from that. So it's actually, if you give it a fairly broad audience, and this wasn't really true 5 years ago, but now it really is. If you give it a broad audience, it's going to start to learn from who is watching the video. And if you give it enough time and you put enough money into it, it's actually going to get smarter over time, and it's going to start getting your costs down. So it's going to do that automatically. So that's one really cool aspect of this. You don't have to be as careful about your targeting, because Facebook's going to help narrow that for you, okay? So in this case, we're in our ad set again. I'm gonna scroll a little further down. So that was all of our targeting, right? Again, I'm not covering every detail here, but you set your targeting. Generally, you're just gonna pick the city you live in. And then you come down to placements. And this is the other part of the ad set, which is, this is where your ad is going to be shown, right? So we're probably not gonna mess with this. You can mess with it if you want to. I'm just gonna show you what it looks like really quickly, because if I click on manual, I can go through and I can select or deselect all of these different places. There's like probably 20 of them or so where my video ad can be shown, but there might be some I don't want it to show up in, right? So for instance, one that I don't usually like running, and the videos usually have to be really short, is this in-stream. In-stream is when you show an ad in the middle of a video. A lot of people don't like that. So maybe you don't want to show your ads in the middle of videos, right? So there's things like that to consider. You can come through and you can remove different placements. But to keep it easy, and for most cases, I would just leave it on automatic placements. Let Facebook make that decision for you. It's a lot of extra thought you don't necessarily need to get into, okay? And then the final part here is, because I said not to optimize the budget at the campaign level, I said that I wanted to set it in the ad set level. Now I can choose how much I want to spend on the ads, right? So first thing you're gonna decide between is, do I want to go for through plays? So do I want to tell Facebook to get people to watch a good amount of my video, but it's going to probably cost more per view? Or do I want to go for 2-second views? So do I want to just get as many people as possible to watch the first couple seconds, but I don't care if they move on and they don't stick around any longer, right? And again, something you got to think about, which one of those is preferable. I like to go with through plays because I want people that actually find my video interesting. They want to stick around and watch it a little bit, right? And we scroll down a little bit more. I'm going to leave this one alone. I'm just going to set an overall daily budget. And so that's what you do right here at budget and schedule. You just choose how much money you want to spend per day. Even small amounts can add up quickly if you forget you're running your ad. And I do know people that have done this. I have personally done it. So even if you set it at 10 bucks a day, but you forget for a month it was running, you're going to spend 300 bucks, right? So the other option, if you don't want to do daily, is you can also select lifetime budget, and that's going to give you a beginning and an end date, and you're going to set a total budget for the campaign, or for, in this case, the ad set. I recommend doing it that way if this is something that you're just trying out for the first time, because it is easy to forget about it and spend too much money if you go with a daily budget, right? Lifetime, you know, I'm just going to say, let's say 200 bucks. We're just practicing right now, but just to say 200 is my set there. And then over here, going to tell me approximately how many people are going to be exposed to my ad as a result of that money, right? So I've got, okay, I'm going to spend 200 bucks over a period of 1 month, and about, you know, 600 to 2,000 or so people will get a chance to see my ad every day for that amount of money, right? If I change this back to, I think it was at 500 the first time, you'll see that that number over there increases, right? Because I'm spending more money, so it's going to show it to more people. So you have total control here, right? You can spend as much or as little as you want. And if something's working, don't be afraid to put more money into it and then see what that does. All right, now we're going to go ahead and click continue. And we're going to do the last step here, which is we're going to set up the ad. So we need to select the right page that the ad is coming from. In this case, we're using this page HSG Realty, which is one of our partners we worked with for years. And then we need the ad name for it. So we're going to say Last Hotel Video, because that's the video we're using. And now we're going to set the ad up, all right? So, and again, I know some of you are probably going, wow, we're moving really fast right now. I understand that. This is just kind of a quick overview, but this is all the steps you need to take. So if you were to go back and watch this a couple times and use it as a template to set an ad up, it would work and it would run, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to create ad. We have the single video format, which is the default because we told it video views in the first place. So it's not letting me set up any other kinds of ad. It's just giving me just the single video option. And so we come down here to where it says media, and this is where we add the video. So this is where we pick out the video that we want to use. I click on add video. And in this case, we just want to use a video that's already on the page. So this is pretty handy, right? I've got the video right here. It's already loaded on the page. I just select page videos. I find the one I want and I click continue. So super simple. I don't have to upload it separately. I don't have to do anything else. Another nice thing about this is if you had already added subtitles to that video through Facebook, they're already going to be on it. So you don't have to go back through that process again. So now you've got your video, and the final piece you need to do is you just need to add the text for the ad, okay? So I already wrote that out earlier, so we didn't have to waste any time here. Just going to go ahead and copy this. And I'd recommend, you know, if you're organized like that, you can have all this stuff written at a time. I can go ahead and copy the text in, and that's it. My ad is ready to go. So this over here is a preview of what the ad's going to look like. It's going to come from my business page. It has my copy that I just copied into it, and then it has my video, which was already on my page, right? And then when I'm done, I would come down here and I would click on confirm. I'm not going to do it because I don't want this ad to actually run right now. But once you click on confirm, what's going to happen is that it's going to take a few hours, sometimes a day or two, to be approved. Facebook has to go through and review any ad that is posted. And at that point, then it'll either get approved or denied. And depending on what happens, you can then move forward, right? So if it's approved, that's good. You're good to go. If it is denied, you can sometimes go in and appeal that. But hopefully, if you had selected housing as your category and you followed all the rules, you shouldn't have any problems, okay? All right, so that was a lot. I'm going to just pause for just a second. That is step number 1, okay? So just a quick recap here. We went through, we set up the campaign where we chose the video view objective. We went to the ad set level where we chose the city where we lived, 15-mile radius. And then we went to the ad level where we selected the video and we added our copy and we chose our business page, right? So I know that was a lot that you saw, but that is fundamentally all that we did, right? So if you think about it that way, it's not too many different steps. But now we have an ad of me, or sorry, in this case, Greg, our client, who's going to be promoting this last hotel, which just opened in the St. Louis area. And it's going to be shown to the people that live in the greater St. Louis region, right? Which is perfect. That's exactly who we want this to be shown to, okay? So that's step number 1. So now we've got this video out there. It's showing to the people in the St. Louis area. I'd give it some time, right? I wouldn't necessarily go in and start creating follow-up ads immediately, but you certainly can, right? So I would probably let it marinate a little bit, let people get a chance to see it maybe once or twice at least. And then when you're ready, now we can target the people that watched that video. So I'm gonna show you how to do those next 2 steps. And I think I can get this done in time. So let's see here. So what we're gonna do to create the audience. So now the next step is we need to save an audience of the people who have seen the video, right? So I need an audience, which is a way of tracking certain people, of just the people who watched that existing video. So I click on this button up here and I click on audiences. They actually redesigned this recently. It's a little bit easier to navigate. Click on audiences, and that's going to open up the audiences tab where I'm going to create this new audience, all right? And it's a pretty simple process. So what I do is I click on create audience. You're just going to select the first option, which is custom audience, and then you select video. All right. So I know there's a whole, like I said, there's a lot of complexity here. There's all these other things you can do. We're just looking for video. Okay. So it's custom audience, video. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in this first box that says engagement, and I decide how much of that video do I want the person to have watched, right? If I choose 3 seconds, that's any view counts as 3 seconds. So if somebody watches at least 3 seconds of the video, that counts as a view in the view counter on Facebook, right? So I'm going to select that one because I just want to say anybody who even just a little bit of this video saw it, gave it any amount of time, that's who I want to advertise to, right? But you do have other options. If you want to show it to people who watched 10 seconds, or I think we mentioned earlier, 50%, right? You have those options as well. So we're going to go with 3 seconds to keep it simple. And then the second option is you have to choose the video. So we click on that, we select the page here, and it's going to pull up all the videos from my page. Conveniently, this is the first video here, so I'm going to go ahead and check that box and click confirm. All right, so now what I've done is I told Facebook I want all the people who watched at least 3 seconds of that exact video, they're going to go into this audience, right? I can select how many days into the past I want to track that. So if I want anybody who's seen the video in the past year, I leave it at 365. I recommend bumping it down to maybe 30 days because I don't necessarily want to show an ad to somebody that watched this video 6 months ago, because they're probably not interested at this point anymore. I'm going to set it to 30 days. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and give the audience a name. And I usually say viewed 3 seconds. So I know what kind of targeting it was. And then the last hotel video. Okay, so that's what I know. I got 3 seconds, I got last hotel video, and then I'm going to go ahead and create my audience. Now I actually did this earlier, so I'm just going to close that. And I'm going to show you that this audience right here, which I created earlier so that it would show you the size, it has 5,500 total people in it, right? So that's a pretty decent audience. There's 5,000 plus people that saw at least 3 seconds of that video who I can now target with my ads, okay? So that was step number 2. So now just to recap, what we've done is we created an ad.
Nick, let me ask a couple questions. You want to recap first and then I'll ask the questions?
No, go ahead. I mean, the questions are more important.
Okay. What is minimum audience size for the retargeting audience?
So there's really no minimum audience size. I mean, Facebook's not going to tell you how many people are in it if it's under 1,000, but technically you can create audiences that have just a few people in them. I think if it's like under 20, it might not actually allow you to advertise to them, but I think it'll still create the audience. But really, this can be used in very granular ways. So if you have a video and you want to say, hey, only people that watched 50%, and it's only a couple dozen people, that still should work. You're just obviously not going to get that many impressions. So I don't believe there's necessarily a minimum, but as you can see over here, anything that shows up with less than 1,000 people just says below 1,000. And that's again for privacy reasons. Facebook had to make a change to that. but it's not going to show you a number under 1,000.
Somebody's asking, and I think you showed this, but how to add captions, how to turn on to where the captions automatically play. I believe that was a part during when you were setting it up, correct?
Well, I didn't show that. I just mentioned that if the captions are already in the video on your Facebook page and you use it from there, they'll already be there. We don't have time to go into that particular step, but we do have a training. There is one of our tip videos that goes over how to add captions on Facebook. So there you go. If you want that video, make sure you go ahead and register for the email list. It is also, I believe, on our Business Video School page. So if you go on Facebook and you look up Business Video School, go to our videos tab, and you actually should find a video in there that shows you the process for adding captions to your video, right?
Yeah,
so
Kristen,
not hard to do, but
I was going to say, Kristen, you can also just message Business Video School Facebook page if you don't do any of the above. But any of those ways will get you your answer. We can get it to you. Last one. There's another one. What can you do to ensure that your video reaches the higher end of potential viewers? Is there anything you can do?
Higher end. What do you mean by that?
Well, you show a range. So it shows a range of what you're going to reach. So is there a way? Yeah.
Spend more money. No, there's no way to control which of those numbers to hit. That's all based on an estimate of how much other people are bidding for that audience, right? So if you're targeting an audience that other people aren't trying to buy attention from, then you'll probably be on the higher end or even above that range we saw. If you're targeting people, for instance, like if you target like high earners or people that have a lot of assets, like generally they're going to be more heavily targeted, and you're going to get less reach in that case, right? So there's no way to say to Facebook, I want to hit that higher number other than just spending as much money as you possibly can. The more you spend, the more money, the more people you're going to get to. You can use the reach objective, in which case it's going to just try to show the ad to as many people as it possibly can. I just don't recommend that for video views because you're not necessarily optimizing for the right thing. But I guess if you want to maximize reach, that would be the objective to use, would be the actual reach objective.
Do you have any recommendations on video length? Tristan says 3 minutes or longer. What is your opinion? Do you agree or?
Facebook wants 3 minutes and longer. That's what they ask for. Organically, you're going to get more reach if you do that, and we've seen that for sure. That's been kind of confirmed in our experience. So I would do that. I mean, the one thing I will say though is that this is advertising, so the rules don't necessarily apply here. And some of the types of ads restrict you to 15 seconds. If you want to do those in-stream ads, they actually, I believe, have to be under 15 seconds long. So you got to keep that in mind. Is what are you trying to do with it? But if you don't have any sort of guidance on that, then 3 minutes probably isn't a bad idea. And what's also cool about that is the longer the video is, the more meaningful it is if somebody watched a lot of it, right? So if I target people that watched 50% or more of a video, if it was a 3-minute video, that's a 90-second commitment. If it's a 30-second video, it's only a 15-second commitment, right? So that's another thing to maybe consider. But I think 3 is a decent starting point unless you have reasons to go in other directions.
Yes, Lisa, 3 minutes or longer is the answer. And then Debbie asked the question, do you run an ad for 1 month or start with just 1 week at a time? What's your advice on that?
Most ads, I would probably recommend running them at least 2 weeks. If you don't do at least 2 weeks, you're not actually giving Facebook's learning algorithm enough time to do the learning. So a lot of people will turn ads off before they've had a chance to really develop. And that's new, right? I mean, this kind of learning algorithm stuff only has existed for a few years, but it is really cool. And it's kind of like you just let it work, and the longer you let it work, a lot of times the cheaper your ad costs get per view, which is pretty cool. So I would give it at least 2 weeks. I think thinking in terms of 1 month at a time is probably a decent starting point. And then you just have to look at ad performance, right? If your ad's doing really well, keep running it. If it's not doing well, or if it saturates your audience, if you're targeting a really small audience and they've all had a chance to see the video 10 different times, maybe it's time to turn it off at that point. Hopefully that answers the question.
Perfect. And I think I know the answer to this question because I don't think we're going to have time for it. But somebody asked if you're going to go over any ad examples which work, but I'm not sure if we're going to have time for that.
Well, let me show you this real quick because this one does work. So I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to just select this audience here, and I'm going to click on Create Ad. So it's kind of a shortcut, right? So I just click on Create Ad with that audience. And what this is now doing is I'm in a new campaign. but it's going to use that audience that I just created, right? So I have my first ad, which was I'm showing my first video to all these people. And now this ad that I'm setting up is showing to just the people that watch 3 seconds or more of that initial video, right? So in this case, I'm actually going to use a different objective. What I want people to do in this case is I want traffic. Because this second ad, and this is an example of something that does work. So this client, Greg from HSG Realty in the St. Louis area, runs these loft tours. So every Tuesday, because there's a lot of high-rise buildings downtown, they actually have this tour where they'll take you around the city and they'll show you all the different loft buildings and all the different amenities and kind of give you the behind the scenes and whatnot, right? So what we decided to do is we made a video inviting people to that tour, and then we run that as an ad that targets anybody who's engaged with their videos recently, right? So imagine the experience here. Somebody sees his review of this hotel. They're, oh, this is really cool. You know, this guy seems like a nice person. And then they start seeing an ad that says, hey, do you want to come take a tour and check out some lofts with us, right? So even just with one step, think about the difference psychologically, right? Now you're showing an ad to somebody who's already got a chance to meet you. You're not just showing your loft tour to a stranger. And so obviously every additional touch you put in between those two things, the more they're going to know you, the more interested they're going to be to come and do this tour. So what I would do is I would take that loft tour video, I would come in here and select traffic as my objective, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get people to the landing page. Now, alternatively, and this just requires an extra step, I could select conversion. And that's actually going to optimize for people who sign up on the landing page. But you do have to set up some tracking in order for that to happen, which we're not covering today. So I'm just going to leave it at traffic. And what that's going to do is it's going to put this secondary video in front of as many people from that new audience that I just created that are likely to click on the ad. Okay, so that's the new objective, is I want the people who are going to see it and click on it, and we're going to go ahead and use it from there. So we click continue. Now we're in the ad set, although we already have our audience in here because I started the ad with this audience. So you can see my view 3 seconds of my last hotel video. So I don't have to do any other targeting, right? Because this is all the targeting that I need to do. So I leave that alone. Finally, I come down to my budget, and this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Now it's giving me an estimate for link clicks. So not only is it showing me how many people I could reach, but since I changed my objective to traffic, it's telling me approximately how many people it thinks they're going to click on my link based on my budget here, right? I've found that this is a lot less accurate than the reach. So, because the reality is, like, Facebook doesn't know what the ad looks like, so I don't really know how it can guess how many people are going to click on it, but it does, and so it's going to give you at least the number to think about, but it's often not correct. So we're going to leave the rest of that alone. We're going to go to continue, and I'm going to show you the final step of setting the ad up, and then we are wrapping up at the point. So again, same situation where I'm going to want to select the Facebook page. We're doing HSG. And then we come down to create the ad. Again, this is another video that already exists on their page. I'm going to go to page videos. It's going to load all of them here. And then here's my Tuesday downtown loft video. So pull that one in. I don't know why it shows up as black there, but you can see right here the preview shows up correctly. And then here's the big difference. This is kind of the final thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to copy my copy for the ad, which is right here. Grab that and put that in my text. However, there's a couple other options now, right? Since my objective was traffic, I also need to add a URL. So it's going to ask me where I want to send people. So I'm going to go ahead and come in here and grab this link, copy that on over, bring that in here, paste it in, boom, good to go. And there you go, all right? So this text right here is going to pull from the page, but I can also change that. So if I want to say, like, you know, Tuesday loft tours right there, and that's going to change the text as well, right? So I've got my text up here. I've got my video. It says Tuesday loft tours, and I'd probably write something more catchy than that, but we don't have time for that right now. And then a learn more button, and I can also control what that button says. So if I want to change it to any of these options, I can use any of these here, right? So I might want to say, you know, get offer, that kind of stuff, watch more, whatever it might be. But in this case, learn more does make sense. So we leave that alone, and that is it, right? So now we go ahead and we confirm that. And what it's going to do is going to show this exact ad with this button, which goes to my landing page for my loft tour to the people who have watched my existing video, okay? So that's it. That's how we do all this stuff. So I know that was, again, a lot. We covered a lot in this short training here today. It is something we cover in a lot more detail within the school that we're putting together courses for right now. So again, make sure you're on our email list so you can learn more about that. But what's cool about this is that you can work with it, right? So if you set it up this way and you've got your first video and then your second video and that's a call to action and you're not getting a ton of leads, we'll just put more videos in between, give people more of a chance to get to know you. I think there's been for many years a big focus on this kind of ad, the type of ad that's a call to action, a lead gen ad. There's still lots of that going on by all means, and a lot of times it definitely can work. But I'm starting to see more results from a branding strategy. So letting people get to know you, nurturing them over time, letting them get to see some of your personality. I mean, I know we talk about that all the time. That seems to work really well. And then you put this stuff like this in front of them. This isn't even that aggressive of an ad, right? This is just a, hey, come on my tour. But if somebody shows up on that tour, they're probably hiring you, right? Like that's just the reality. They've seen you for a while. If they go out of their way to come on your tour, there's a good chance, unless they already have an agent, that there's a good chance they're going to sign up to work with you. So I really like this kind of advertising. I think it's a lot less aggressive and kind of sleazy than just your direct lead gen stuff where people end up on 10 different email lists with 10 different agents and it's not a good user experience. In this case, they're getting a chance to know you, they're building a real relationship, and then they're coming and working with you when they're ready. So that's the idea behind this. All right, so that's it. I know we're a little bit over time at this point. Were there any other questions we wanted to try to answer before we hop off?
I think Tristan and I have an answer most of them. I think we're good, right, Tristan? You're muted.
Is this recorded? Yes, it is. And I'm putting the link there right now. Go ahead and subscribe, click the little bell. It'll notify you when we upload the video into YouTube. And that's our Lab Code Agents channel. Yeah, back to you, Nick.
Nick, are we going to send out the recording to the email list to everybody who registered?
So what we've been doing is everyone who's on this email list, the one you're seeing on your screen right now, the Learn Video email list, our free video tips, we've been sending them a link with the replay and the slides, I believe, for each of these webinars. So if you'd like to get the replay, if you'd like to get the slides, which we hadn't always been doing, but we are also sharing the slides now, make sure you're on that list, and you're also going to get replays and the slides for any of the upcoming webinars. So I think we are taking next week off. So we are taking a quick little break. And then I think we're going to be trying to do some of these on Monday just to change things up a little bit. So some of the folks have some issues getting to these in the evening like this. So yeah, we'll be back soon.
That's correct. Hey, Nick, let me clarify too for some people. If you're you get on the list by texting Learn Video to 44222 or going to that link and signing up. But Nick, if they registered for Zoom, for this Zoom or any of our Zooms, are they automatically put onto the list as well?
Well, they're not on that list. We put them on a list where we'll tell them about future webinars. That's really all we do with that.
Got it.
Vanessa, do we plan to send? I mean, we've kind of gone back and forth on this. I just don't want to send people stuff they didn't ask for. So we've been trying to just send it to people that opted in. So let's just keep it to that right now. So just because you register for this webinar doesn't mean you'll automatically get the slides or any of that, right? So let me give you this one catch. If you really don't want to be on our email list, if you're like, I don't want to get any video tips, but I really want to replay and I want the slides, just send me a message at our Business Video School page. Okay, I'm not going to cut you out or anything. I'm not going to force you to be on our list. I hope you want to join our list. There's a lot of cool stuff we send out. But if you don't want to do that, send me a direct message on Business Video School. I will make sure you get the replay and the slides. Okay, seem fair enough? Good.
Yep, sounds good. So that's the answer to that question. Anybody still on that wants to get on the list, that's how you get on the list on this slide right here. Text Learn Video. Make sure there's nothing but Learn Video, one word, to 44222. If your emails or if your text signature is on the text, it will not take it. It can only be Learn Video, or go to bit.ly/freevidtips.com. I think, Nick, you can also sign up at bizvideoschool.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you go to our website, you can also register there. We're trying to make it as easy as possible.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's it.
Very good.
All we got. That's all I got for today. So thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Thanks for being on, everybody. And remember, this is being recorded. We'll be on our YouTube channel for Lab Code Agents. And do yourself a favor and text that Learn Video to 44222. Thanks for being on. We'll see you in 2 weeks for this specific thing. we'll see you tomorrow again for another webinar. Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you guys.